Hello everyone, welcome back to The Dream. After we did all of the necessary setup in terms of audio and MIDI routing on all of these devices, now it's time to actually show some music, right? We're finally getting down to actually producing some music. And I've spent the last week just working on a few prototypes just to test things out, test how these different elements connect with each other, interact with each other, and what sort of music I can actually create using this specific setup. And I found out that there were some wins and there were some fails. There's stuff that definitely will stay. There's stuff that needs to change in the future. But yeah, let's just get down to business and I'll show you all about it. Come on. All right, first of all, let's get a beat going. I did say that I've created music finally with this. So let me show you. All right, this is called September, and I don't know if you can see this, but it's called September 1. This is because right now I'm dividing the songs that I'm building in two parts. This may change in the future, but this is just so I can have like a part A and a part B, so it's not all the same, you know? So as I change patterns, if I change patterns here on this demonstration, you're probably going to see 1 and 2. That's basically it. I thought about dividing the songs in 4 parts. I'm still thinking about it so I can have more variation. I think that will just come naturally as I start progressing on these songs. Obviously, this is just small beats for the time being. This is going to be improved over time, so I'm not too worried about that in the moment, for the moment. But it's something to keep in mind, because then I want to have this, the division, a separation, a structure that makes sense in the Digitakt, since it's going to be in the brain. And originally, I thought about the 4 parts because then I could just divide the pads in 4 parts or 4 songs per bank, and that would make it easier for me to kind of, in a live situation, to just select the best parts or select the parts that I want. Within those sections, each of these 4 bits would have specific parts of those songs, right? So the first would be the intro, the second would be the first build up, and then a breakdown would be on the third, and the fourth would be kind of the end and preparing for the transition to some other song, right? I still have that in mind. For now, I'm doing in 2 parts, but that can easily change in the future. Now, for the setup itself, as I've mentioned before, all of these have different roles, right? The Digitakt is the main brain of the whole operation, right? It's going to sequence the Digitone, and right now it's also sequencing the bass on the circuit tracks, and it's going to have samples in it. For now, I'm not using it that much for samples, but I plan on, sampling synths, sampling vocals, or even songs, like if I want to sample old vinyls or something like that. The plan is for the Digitakt to handle all of that. And the synth parts will be handled by the Digitone, mostly leads, pads, and plugs, all that sort of thing. It has 4 different tracks, so it's perfect for that. I'm still getting used to the sound of the Digitone. It's really powerful. One of these days, I think I'm going to do a live session, a live stream here on the channel, just trying to work out some sounds on the Digitone. Because it's FM, it's not really, it's not direct. It's more like an experimentation thing for me, and I should learn, and I'll probably learn at some point how to work with the different operators and how they kind of interact with each other. But for now, it's just like I twist knobs and see whatever comes out. I've had some success, but the sound is very specific to the Digitone. You can tell that it's a Digitone sound. So for now, I don't know how I feel about that, but it works. And maybe maybe I'll as I start creating more patches, maybe I'll be able to actually have my own sound, you know. And for the circuit tracks, yeah, it's the bass machine, as I've mentioned before. I think it works quite well. Still getting adjusted to how to use the basses in the songs that I've built. And right now it's being sequenced by the Digitakt. But I think I'm going to change that in the future. I think I'm going to start sequencing the bass patterns specifically on the circuit tracks, just because it's easier to just play. It's more immediate. And in terms of feedback, it's kind of like it's all here. The Digitakt, not so much. It's more mechanical. It's not as intuitive. You know what I'm saying? But besides that, it's much more easy. It's way easier to change this live, to change the sequence live in the circuit tracks itself than using the Digitakt. You know, it's kind of like the way that I'm experiencing the Digitakt is that once it's set, and it's not really easy to change on the fly. However, on the circuit tracks, as I've shown before, it's like even just using the mutate combination here, it's like it's one way to kind of have a new, fresh bass pattern. So I'm looking forward to using that. The thing is, if I want to start sequencing things on the circuit tracks itself, I need to be aware of the scales. So I need to match the scales here and the Digitakt, so everything is in key, right? And so I don't have to really think about keys in a live situation. I'm not a keyboard player, so I'm definitely not good at that. And the other hand, I also need to always make sure that these patterns here on the Digitakt send the program change to the circuit tracks, so I can change the different projects, because these projects are going to be linked to the actual patterns here. So I need to make sure that all of these can change whenever I change patterns here. And I don't want to have to change them manually, because it's one more thing that I need to do live, and that would probably mess things up. Another thing that this allows me to do, sequencing the bass patterns on the circuit tracks, is that I can then go off the rails far more easier. Oh my god, today I can't English today, but it's way easier to just go off rails and start just doing experimentations, new patterns using the circuit tracks and the circuit rhythm only. I think these will be the live elements of my Dawless setup here, mostly, right? It's just they're so easy to interact, right? And the way that they allow me to interact with them is just so much more immediate than these machines. These are very powerful, but these are like, I want these to be mostly on rails for the sets, and have these as the elements that I want to change. I've also learned that I cannot have too many things to work on. It's counterproductive for me, because then it's just too many things that are happening at once, and it starts being very stressful to just, I want things to change, I want things to not become monotonous, and then I need to work on all of these things, and the sounds are still going, I'm going through the motions to learn that sort of thing, which is, it's cool. It has been an experience, but that's why I think that we're not done with the way that this is set up. So that's it for the circuit tracks. In terms of audio routing, of course, the circuit tracks is the last element, so the audio from the bass is being routed to the circuit rhythm, and the audio from the circuit rhythm is going to the Digitone, which is then going to the Digitakt, right? So it goes like this. And this is deliberate, because I want to use the grid effects to affect both the bass and also the drums. I would like it for, to have the grid effects after the Digitone. The thing is, in terms of, and I'm sorry if I'm not using the term correctly, but I think it's gain staging. Because these are battery powered, the volume output is not that high. And that kind of causes problems, trying to balance the volume, especially because the samples, the drum samples, are not totally matched here on the circuit rhythm, which is another thing I'll touch upon later on, and also the patches on the circuit tracks. So it's kind of hard. Not hard. It's fine, but if I have to do some kind of change in a live situation, it can get messy, So I cannot have just the circuit rhythm as the last element before the Digitakt, and I think it's gonna stay the way that it is. On the other hand, I really like the way that this enables me to have controls over the effects or on the circuit tracks. Especially, I can use the master filter for transitions, and that will cut the bass and also the drums together. That's really cool. If I want to do it on the circuit tracks alone, I can do it as well, and have only the beats going, only the things on the circuit rhythm going. And on the other hand, like on the grid effects, like I was saying, if I want to, maybe this won't sound that good, I've set up, I'm probably going to change the grid effects that I have here later on, but this allows me to, throw a little bit of spice, throw a little bit of seasoning to the live performance, which is what I want. I will not go overboard, for sure, but here and there, it allows me to have fun. In terms of how the circuit rhythm is sequenced, it's not being sequenced by the Digitakt. It's kind of its own thing. It's just using the clock to be set on time, And what I've done is all of these tracks, they all have elements, right? And I'm using the scenes, which you can find here in the mixer. I'm using the different scenes to kind of access the different drum parts that I want. Like, for example, now it's just the kick, right? But if I press here, wait. Completely missed it. Sorry. The being on key is like another thing that I need to learn. So I think something went wrong. It's not really on key. I probably changed it too early, yeah. But as you saw, I've changed into the snare, like the second scene. Okay. Yeah. So I can still use the mutes if I want, but using the scenes, it's kind of like I think it's a good way to kind of group some of these elements together, so I don't really have to go haywire on the pads themselves, right? I can still use the master filter, So it's actually, I think there's a lot that I can do with these, with the setup that I have right now, and now it's a matter of learning how I can better use this and make sure that I don't leave too many things for me to do in a live situation. because I don't want to bite more than I can chew, for sure. And over the past week, like I said, I've been creating these prototypes, and I don't want to be overstressed in a live situation. I still want to have the challenge of being able to change things as I see fit, but it's supposed to be fun in the end, right? And it's also a thing of I need to practice. I'm going to need to practice a lot, but that will come with experience. That will come with time. So I'm not too worried about that, you know. So you probably, I think in the recording, you can probably see the little thing that I have here. This is a MIDI controller that I bought from Etsy, from a store called Beats and Buttons, right? It's a small customizable MIDI controller that currently I have connected to the Digitakt, right? And what I can do with it is basically adjust the parameters on the delay and reverb, and also work on or add these effects to the external mixer, right? So if I want, I did this because if I want to do some kind of transition, I can just work my way here. And for example, the first row has parameters for the delay, the second one for the reverb. These two right here, they add reverb and delay to the external mixer. And I have two buttons that you see here. They bring the external reverb or the external delay back to 0 if I want to just click the or kill the after the transition. If I want to quickly kill the synths, I can do just that, right? Maybe I can show you how it could be done, you know. So let me just do some jamming right now. Yeah, what about that? Transition. Just a quick test, and if I'm honest, there are several problems with this. I don't particularly like the way that the direction that I'm going with this sound, if I'm completely honest. But it's a good way to kind of get the gist of how this works together. I'm finding that this is not actually the sound that I want to be using in a live situation. I want something more, dancey, groovy. This is very, I don't know, maybe too soft for me. And obviously I need to work on these songs more, or loops, right? I need to work on these songs. I need to work on the sounds, the way that they interact with each other, on the variations, right? Some of these are just too samey. Myself, I need to understand and learn how I can introduce variations, even if, modulations, if not something that I do directly, but modulations and using the sequencer on the Digiboxes to kind of introduce those kinds of variations. Obviously, I need to learn also to work with the effects. This might not be like the final box that I'm going to use. Maybe I'll improve on the set a little bit more. I'm also not terribly happy with the beats that I have going right now. I think I need to use other samples, and honestly, I think I need to sample directly on the rhythm instead of importing them to the SP404 or use something, some sample packs or whatever. Because I think if I sample everything using the circuit rhythm itself, all of the levels will become the same and all of the sound will also become the same. Another thing that I don't like is how the master compressor here on the Digitakt is affecting the whole sound. You could tell that sometimes elements that are particularly too high, too loud on some of these devices, they influence the sound in a negative way, and I don't want that. And attached to that is also the feeling that I should be using like an actual mixer to mix all of these signals together, which is something that I will probably try in the future just to see. I was trying to avoid it because I really don't want to bring another piece of another device. I wanted everything to be as simple as possible with the minimal amount of devices. But I think that having this like the current setup, in the end will end up making the sound worse. The live track itself has a compressor, not great, but at least it probably works better than the one on the Digitakt right now, just because of the way that everything interacts with each other and how the audio is being routed. So yeah, in the end, lots of lessons learned. This is gonna take much more time than I thought, and I already thought that it was going to take a lot of time, and right now I think that it's going to take a little even more, but that's okay. This is not a race, and it's actually a good experience. Maybe I can take some of these elements, I can use them in future songs, who knows. And I think what's left to talk about is actually the way that it's arranged, and I'm very happy about that. As you can see, I bought a pedal board in AliExpress. It cost me like 25 euros, which is really, really cheap. And, I wouldn't stand on it. Like, for the actual purpose that this is, like this pedal board, I wouldn't use it. It's like, it feels far too flimsy. But for this specific use, I think it's perfect, right? These do not move. I've Velcroed the back of the circuit tracks and the circuit rhythm, and they do not move. And this way, they're kind of separate. They're separate from this stand right here, and this means that I can just unplug all of the cables and use the circuit brothers on their own, which is also a plus. And I think that overall, this is looking pretty neat. The way that this is being elevated right now, it's not It's not up to code, let's put it that way. I'm using speaker stands to elevate this. Maybe a bit down the road, I'll actually buy some actual stands that are made for these synth stands because they sell it. But yeah, for now it works, and I'm mostly focused on the sounds and on building sounds. So yeah, there's still a lot of work ahead. So that's it. But like the snail, slow but surely, right? There's some kind of expression that I could use, but I can't remember it right now. I think that will be it for me now. Thanks for checking in. And I hope that this in some way can help you with your own setup. If you have any sort of feedback in terms of my setup, let me know. And yeah, I know that the songs themselves are not really anything to write home about, but it's a start. Let's see where this is going. Yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.